Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to moderate this session on harnessing data and AI-driven workflows, specifically for India and Indian exploration. Um, I'm Atisha Mahajan. I'm head of exploration research from Restart Energy, and I'm joined here with very expert panel, varying from the operator and the service sector and the strategy to comment on this very important and key topic, still nascent but developing quite quickly across the industry. Just to put the topic into perspective, I just want to talk a bit about what is happening in exploration. And you see, in the global exploration, we see that discovered volumes are declining, success rates are, dropping, and this is a kind of, I would say, exploration paradox, where exploration is needed uh, because the reserve ratios of the companies are declining. It's also the need of the long-term energy security for the countries and globally as well. And this similar paradox is very relevant to India as well, where in India, we have huge acreage available, frontier exploration, lot of scope of, a lot of prospectivity probably still lying under the subsurface. And here we think we need to brainstorm a bit on how the data is the data that we have, is it sufficient enough? So sufficiency to efficiency, we need to talk about that. And we also need to see how the most recent evolutions in AI, how they can be implemented into the Indian affair and make exploration more uh, successful. Uh, yeah. And to start that, I think it's quite natural for me to start with Mr. Rajarshi Gupta. He's MD and CEO of ONGC Videsh Limited. And as in from an operator's perspective, I would like to understand, how AI and data is being, utilized. Do you see any data gaps in overall Indian offshore, and how that can be made more sufficient, and how AI can be implemented, or is it already being implemented in the country, and how it is being utilized?
Thank you. Very good afternoon to my esteemed panelists and the audience here. It's a great pleasure to be back at IEW. I believe that the theme of this panel is extremely timely because India today is going through a fundamental shift in how exploration data is created, shared, and used. We in the ONGC group, as part of ONGC Videsh, which is working in now 15 countries with 32 assets and 3 business centers across the globe, and ONGC domestically, we do believe that now is the time where exploration has to be looked at in a different way. Uh, with nearly 1 million square kilometers open in the EZ of India, there's massive new seismic acquisition happening. The National Data Repository has already taken place and it's open to the public who wants to have a look. We are moving to a cloud enabled open platform, and thereby we are changing the way exploration will be defined in the future. But this also creates responsibility for ENP companies like ONGC Videsh and ONGC, because I personally do believe that though AI is the buzzword, but AI will not work only on raw data. AI will work on organized, governed, and trusted data. And that is where ENP companies like us will have to walk the talk. We must first transform how we manage our data, how we manage our subsurface seismic records, and engineering workflows. Today, the world is standing at an inflection point in the history of hydrocarbon exploration where two transformative forces are taking place simultaneously. One is rapid evolution of AI, ML, and big data, and at the same time shift towards more sustainable, secure, and affordable energy source. What the country has done is they have now opened up the no-go areas. We have the seismic in place, we have the NDR in place. Now it's for ONGC to do. ONGC has already started with a project called Project DOT, which is Digital Organizational Transformation. 500 executives are on board. We are in the process of building the enterprise data platform for this and will align with the Open Subsurface Data Universe, or OSDU as we call it. The principles of subsurface and reservoir management platform will then convert data into a standardized workflows. We don't want to have silos of data and workflows or software happening in the organization. We want it to be one source integrated across platforms. We have also understood that unless geologists, geophysicists, reservoir engineers, well engineers, planners, they don't work on the same governed data backbone, AI will only remain a pilot. And it will not then be a real decision support system. We also are very cognizant of the fact that seismic processing time, the acquisition is the main cost factor, and then comes the processing time. Whereas acquisition is 80 to 90% of the cost, processing is hardly 5 to 7% of the cost, but takes much more time. This is where we believe that it can be compressed, because in today's world, smaller business cycles are the norm. And the final part is the how we interpret it, how we develop prospects, how we release locations, so that there is more precision, more the linkages with the wells already drilled. We have data which I can share with the audience here, that ONGC has drilled more than 150 wells in deepwater offshore in India, eastern, western, all together. But as we do much more for Sagar Manthan, we need all of this to come together. Each of these wells will cost about 100 million or more. So it is, though it's not a perfect science, but we want that as we integrate the workflows and bring it into AI, our decision making is much better, and our risk is to a lesser extent as we go forward with this big job. We have been using AI for long, as I said, for log analysis, well performance, and some other simulation support. But now what we are doing is we are bringing the younger generation with us, the up to E2, E3, E4 level, who are much more adept with this technology. We are training them. We are bringing them into the management platforms. We are bringing them to digital platforms. We are also realizing that the use cases that we have been using throughout the organization, some of these are fragmented, and this now needs to all talk the same language. This is where we stand today. In the international arena also, as we work with the international partners, it is very clear that this is the time for collaboration and cooperation. This is the time for risk mitigation. This is the time for using your past knowledge to work a better future. It is not I versus you. It is always we together. In this world of uncertainty, in this world of disruption, in this world of volatility, the more we network, the more we integrate, the more we dissolve the silos, the better we are. Thank you.
That's interesting, and I think Rachi just took us through the whole life cycle of AI, how it's needed, and how it will be incorporated into the existing workflows of E&P companies. I think my next question is to you, Lalit. Lalit is MD, India region for SLB. Uh, do you also it's on the similar grounds as I asked to Rajashri. So we know India is doing, new stratigraphic wells. They are, doing new seismic. There's a NDR 2.0 already in place. But to me, it feels that it's still in a very nascent phase, and it needs to mature a bit more. So, from your perspective, what more, data investments are needed to make a sustained investment into accelerate exploration success in India?
Thank you, Atesh. Good afternoon, co-panelists, Good afternoon, audience. I'm very excited to be here at IEW as always. So it's a very interesting topic, and I think this panel should have been the day one, slot one panel, right? I mean, nothing is more important than this topic. So very glad to be here. So I think Rajshri sir laid out the entire, you know, ground network on where we are. The government has taken some bold and decisive steps on opening the no-go zones, right? That's the first thing. So the total area available for exploration now is about 1.3 million square kilometers. 1 million is new, where the data could be sparse. But there is 0.386 million square kilometers where we have a reasonable data. But the confidence level in the data is low. So, and everybody is now working in a bit of silo, every operator, the investors from abroad, they're looking at silo. I am a strong believer that multi client is the way to go across the basins to offset the costs, increase the scale that will bring in the operating efficiency as well as reduce the costs and bring the success. And this was recently done in Algeria, Egypt some time back, Mexico long time back, and that was their success. They were also national companies, but then used multi-client to there. The confidence on AI, right, I think is building. It's a journey. Nothing gets developed overnight. Nothing will be a step. Any technology, even the wireline technology, took about 10 to 20 years before the confidence came. And my request to all the operators and the policymakers here is that we have to start the journey. As we go along the journey, there will be improvements, the confidence will increase, and we have done such a successful study in Kawanza Basin in West Africa, where we had the calibration against the manual processing as well. We cut the time by 8 times, and the results are matching around 90%, right? I mean, so there are ways to be done, and I think we have to start rewriting our playbook on how we approach. If we continue to refine the playbook that we had 20 years back, it's not going to work. As our Prime Minister says, right, in the Atam Nirbhar, that India will not do incremental steps, but will make a step change. And that's what the ask for the industry is here. That's what I strongly believe in. Thanks.
That's a very good point, indeed. Um, my next question is to Eric on the similar grounds. So, you know, upstream operators, they are not just having data on seismic. Of course, that's huge, but they have a lot of other data, geological data, production data. So there's a lot of backing that they can get from all the data that is existing. But still, the frontier exploration or exploration in general, even in the mature basins, is very high risk. So, from your perspective, how can data and AI help move from, fragmented subsurface information to faster and more confident exploration and even appraisal decisions?
Sure. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's the first time to be able to come to IEW and see it and kind of interact in the conversation. I think, as everybody said, the AI topic, right, for the majority of conferences around the world, right, is always front and center. And I think what's interesting is there's a lot of similarities. We joked about it before we came up on stage here in terms of the sheer amount of data and information. So there's no shortage. And so really what the opportunity is in terms of being able to reduce time and speed things up by augmenting that together and using AI as a means in which to, and really platforms like, the Aspen Tech subsurface intelligence piece to be able to tie those things and be able to orchestrate that into new workflows, to be able to build consistency and repeatability and patterns and obviously start the journey and learn from it and be able to find the new outcomes that enable that to go quicker. The other piece, which I think we've seen in other industries, other parts of oil and gas, other parts like power generation, is also the use of virtual advisors. You think about, we mentioned workforce and new people coming in, existing generations that have been here for many, many years, decades, is really that ability to take the knowledge that exists either from operators, folks like ourselves that are vendors providing technology to industry, but how do you help to build recommendations as you process through that information, through that data, and be able to, get to the outcome more quickly. So if the idea of taking, the seismic data, the production data, velocity data, things, and orchestrating that, one of the biggest things is being able to help somebody understand maybe what's been done before in the past and be able to query that in natural language, no matter where you are in the world, and be able to find, the things that you're looking for and be able to work through that process more quickly.
Yeah, I guess the integration of the data is the key, and making sense out of that data is definitely a next step for sure. Uh, my next question is to our uh, last panelist over there. So, Mr. Sujoy Chaudhary is Chief Strategy Officer at TCG Group. So, the question is to you about. So, when I looked up TCG, I realized it works across the digital value chain, and as you are strategy officer, so I want to ask you from investment perspective. So there's a lot of data, big data, how that can be utilized to make frontier basin more bankable, and has have you done some work along that lines to showcase some success stories?
Thanks, Atisha. It's always a pleasure coming to IEW, and it showcases what India has to offer, the hospitality of India per se, and this networking with fantastic industry partners. I think what all my co-panelists have said is very, very important. We don't have too much data compared to the global giants because of the varied geographies that we have, but nevertheless, we have fair amount of data to start a point. I think the national data repository is something which we have given it a structure. We have forced all the operators to report in a particular format. Yes, there could be missing links today, which actually possibly leaves out a bit of context. But having that data is a good starting point with a cloud native architecture. All it makes the data used for AI ML to a large extent more relevant. Now, coming to the data sufficiency or the data, what I should say, paralysis or whatever we may say, that's a secondary point. I think we are too early to say that the data which we have is too much to handle. I think these days models can consume any amount of data. Now, before any data is put into the system, you need to understand that we need to remove the outliers, which we call cleansing of a data. We need to contextualize the data and then transform that data into something meaningful. Now, when you start, you can have a two-pronged approach. You can first do a only data-based model, or you can do a hybrid model where you have some relevant mathematical models governing results which are coming. We as a company, TCG, believes in the hybrid model more, and we have been doing this hybrid model approach in oil and gas space since we were discussing just before this session that this happens to be a very critical sector. Certain things go wrong, it could lead to a catastrophe. So we can't just rely sheerly on the data. The one, human in the loop is important still now. Autonomous AI agent-driven systems would take some time, though they are being talked of quite a bit. But understanding the underlying mathematical model and then working with the data to put guardrails is very, very important. That is precisely what I feel we should start with. And all my co-panelists are experts in their own field. I come from a company who's into the data, I would say AI modeling, and we have a model called MQ. And we have used this model starting from football. We are partners to the world's largest football federation. So we are on the other side, we are partners to the largest pharmaceutical company. And in between, we have all the oil and gas lines. So you can understand that the platform is very versatile. It is an absolute synchronized. It's a model where the data ingestion can be in any form. It is a 360-degree approach to data. It can be video, audio, scribbles. It can be any damn thing. And it's cloud independent. So this seamless integration of data, version upgrades, everything has been built into the platform, which is also, I feel, very important. You can stitch together Because LLMs are available everywhere. You can stitch together and create a model. But when you go to implement in real sense, it does not happen like that. Because there are multifaceted interfaces where this will lead to some kind of a, I should say, a data overrun. It could lead to some false results coming into the play. So having a structured approach to the data with proper knowledge of the geophysics or the chemistry of the thing or a process which you are running is very, very important. So I feel this hybrid approach would make more sense, not only in the refining sector where we are already doing it, but also in E&P sector, because you have a good panel of experts guiding these models to the required direction. Having come to the examples which we have done, I think, yes, we have done a work with one of the largest companies in E&P sector. This is a problem which we have solved, on which multiple papers were written earlier on the recipe of cementation of wells. There was 500 odd parameters which govern cementation. Could be from the gas permeability to the strength of the concrete to hold to the high temperature, high pressures, to the fluid losses, and multifarious aspects of cementation recipe. Normal process used to be that you intuitively create a recipe based on the information you have or you had, and then try it out for a few days or a few weeks, and then come and implement that. And if it does not perform, you go back to the lab, reform it, and go back. So we have completely solved this. We have handled all these parameters based on the data sets that we have, the data sets the company provided, and the continuous flow of information from the labs, which was analyzing this geological data which was flowing in from the drilling operation that was having. And the recipe was being altered, fine-tuned, and implemented. So they have got very, very good results, and we are going forward to implement more such use cases in that particular company. So that is how we can actually use AI to accelerate, which Rajarshi was talking right at the beginning, to accelerate quite a few things. Let's say fracturing. When we are going for fracturing, how the behavior pattern is changing on a fracture, if certain path deviations are happening, how to correct, all those can now be handled online. Similar instances are there in refinery, very complex refinery processes. You can now track catalyst sensitivity, catalyst activation, everything. We are doing multiple works in these kind of fields. We are doing with Aramco for catalysis, which can be to an extent, I should say, correlated with geology. So all these works are going on, and I'm sure in the days to come, we will see a very refined versions of, because I keep on saying E&P is possibly a space where you have data in more structured form than any other areas. So I'm sure the models would become very powerful. Models would help to increase the success rates and also to avoid issues which come up normally in E&P situation, unwanted surprises, I would say.
Yep, thank you so much. I think we've discussed data quite a lot, and we cannot really separate AI from data when we are discussing the data. But I think we need to focus a bit on this AI pillar separately as well, especially from exploration's perspective, that how it will impact the decision making. And this is my open question to all of you. Where does AI genuinely add value today in exploration decision making? And where do expectations still exceed reality? So maybe we can start with you, sir.
Um, Let us be frank here. Just to add to what Sujayji was saying, today about 30% of the organizations are already using AI for dynamic mud weight adjustment when we drill a well to prevent blowouts. It's now AI is there in pipeline monitoring, its health. All that is being done as we speak. Now coming to exploration, though I'm not a subsurface person, let me be clear about it. But what we are seeing is the human ingenuity of the mind, human mind, that has to be respected. But at the same time, if we have drilled, let's say, 10,000 wells in India, do we have all the data with us? Am I able in ONGC Videsh to integrate what I'm learning in Colombia with Brazil, Brazil with Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan with Vietnam, Vietnam with Sudan, South Sudan? So if we can get these learnings on board in a common platform, and in the decision making, when the people sit there, the human, the MDT team sits there, they can challenge each other across the board. Number one. Number two, as we give and respect human decision making, I personally believe that AI means less hierarchical structures. Even the junior most person should have a say in the room based on what data he is available to them. So if there is a single source of truth, if there is integration, if there is less hierarchy, and it is openly discussed, the divergence between decision making of with AI and without AI will reduce. Number one. Number two, it will cut through the lessons learned across basins, across geographies, across continents. This is the biggest thing that ONGC Videsh brings to the table. Is it is the only ENP company, we are the second largest ENP company only after our parent in terms of production and reserves. It brings to the fore for India a knowledge base which is across 19 countries, 32 projects, and it is working with the international firms where different forms of this AI models are being used. So we do believe that if we play it right in India, the government has done a lot to now with the ORDA Act, with the NDR, with the seismic, with the cloud enablement. It was earlier done from our Houston office. We have an center of excellence in Houston also, where we are integrating now. So I think that the expectations, and does it add to the revenue? This is a question that CEO levels ask. It has actually shown that if we are committed and do it very honestly, it will definitely increase their revenue in 60 to 70% cases. It has been proven already. So we have to go through this with commitment, with honesty, and with single source of truth.
I'll have a follow-up question, sorry.
Yeah, please.
So, of course, we want to have a single source of truth. We want to have understanding from every, through the whole hierarchy. But as an operator, if you have to, say, for example, trust an interpretation from AI, would you believe that and make a decision on wildcat and appraisal spend in today's time, or you will have or even take a second opinion from a geologist or geophysicist who's working on that data still before making a final decision.
Um, if we have gone through 70 years of our history, depending on human experience, knowledge that they bring to the table, if my AI model is strong enough and it has all that 70 years, what is AI? It's the things that we have learned, what we are feeding. If you are very truthful in that, then why not rely on the AI? Yes, with some overview or some questioning from the human team also. But we should, this is the time to give AI the chance, because AI is what we have done for 70 years, what the international firms have done for 70 years. If it is telling us something, that this is what you did in Ankleshwar, this you can do it in, let's say, Brazil, why not? So I would put my bet on AI if it is the right model that we have built.
That's a very strong statement and definitely supportive of AI. I'll come back to you, Eric, with the same question. I'll just repeat it. Where does AI genuinely add value today in exploration decision making, and where do expectations still exceed reality? Just share your viewpoint.
I guess I'll build on it and say you know, today it is the hybrid piece, right? So it is the fact that you get the physical models and you've got this massive amount of historical data and information that operators have done, and the ability to take and apply general technology of artificial intelligence and whether it's LLMs or MLs or other things, and be able to industrialize it and apply it to this world. So what you see and where we see success is the ability to augment the human and make them more productive, whether they're junior or senior, and be able to, and what has been true probably for the last decade or so, to start to democratize that information and allow people to move much more quickly. In terms of where does it not, maybe the aspirations are still too much, is the autonomous side of it, right? The idea that I'm going to, turn these models on and have them tell me exactly what to go do, that today is just it's not there, right? Obviously, there's trust and there's credibility in a world that many of us have grown up with in decades of, you know, we want expertise, we value expertise, we want to be certain in our decisions. So, you know, you see examples today where the AI can give you the recommendation, you can see it, and you can go in and trust and try to understand it, but it doesn't necessarily completely replace the human. Just, you know, is not there today at this point, but it helps them to become more productive.
Yep. Lalit, you.
So I think, what AI has done, or what even a computer did, was to bring acceleration, consistency, and precision, right? That's where the humans falter. So I think it's eliminated that piece. It does it very well. But then building on what Eric and Rajshri said, right? Where the expectations exceed are on the autonomy part. AI is assisted. I mean, human beings will guide at the workflow stage, so they are very similar to how what we have done for 70 years. We have to design that one, and then we can get the confidence of the AI decision making. So to make it faster, where I feel the challenge, right, where the expectations are still very far off, is one on the analogous basins, right? Specifically for seismic, it's not easy because of the geological structure differences to do analogous comparisons. That's the first one. The second is on data integration, right? I know we spoke about data integration, a little bit about SLB, just like TCG. We do believe in hybrid models, physics-backed models. So we have done it very successfully, transformed India's entire data of drilling and production into cloud seamlessly. So for all 6,500 wells of ONGC, all the producing data. But the next step is how to merge OSDU to the operational data. So there are two platforms, we call it by Lumi, right? Lumi data, Lumi operations. So that is the main challenge. And I think OSDU is now a universal thing, right? After SLB donated to Shell and they took it. So this two data integration is a particular challenge as well. Subsurface tends to be a little siloed.
Okay, data integration is definitely the key.
Yeah.
Your opinion, Sujoy?
I'll just give a parallel. So I was learning AI through a course. So I used something called Nano GPT with a CPU. So what we did was we ingested Shakespeare's theatre, let's say 4 paras of Shakespeare theatre into that, and you see what results come out of Nano GPT. Trash in 5 iterations, in 50 iterations, some words of non-relevance in 5,000 iterations, 50,000 iteration, it starts generating Shakespearean style theatre. So you need hell of a lot of iterations in this. This we cannot forget. Secondly, as we all discussed, you need certain guardrails to understand that what is coming out is relevant. So it's not easy to move it to an autonomous platform or even near autonomous. And let us be honest in admitting that the world globally is more on the POC platform now, validating things, testing models, and it has not moved to a production stage thoroughly. Maybe in bits and pieces we have. As I also said, we also have done a small area, but that the world is very, very vast. It needs time. And data integration is very easy to talk. Shell will never share a data with BP. It does not happen so easily. It needs a complete change of mindset. And that would take time to come because all of us try to hold on to the data thinking that I am powerful. But possibly we both had shared, we would have both become much more powerful. It's not easy.
Very interesting.
It will take some time to come. But it is possible to get results provided we accept the fact that we have to co-create this. It cannot be done by a set of data scientists and the exploration team or the ENP team sits completely separate. SLB stays away from it. If you co-create, results will be fabulous. So that is another piece which is needed. A classic example was this HPCL refinery piece. Our team, their team together developed it. So the ownership on HPCL side was also very high. It is our product. So that has to come in to get good results. But I'm sure over time, since the models are moving very fast, getting reformed, the computation part is taken for granted. It will happen. Only thing, how much of knowledge, as he rightly said, there are certain things which are beyond the logic. So possibly data can give you results, but whether you would believe would need a bit more validation over a period of time. But it is possible. And I've seen this happen. That is what I'm saying. We did maths, 1 plus 2 plus 10 plus rubbish it throws out. The moment it understands the structure, it's absolutely on the dot. So it needs a bit of guidance, hand-holding, and then it can happen. But there is a bit of time to apply in areas where results are very different if it goes wrong. It needs that amount of caution and hand-holding definitely.
Yeah, I guess I can try to summarize it in a good way. First, AI is not, I'm a geoscientist, so for me, AI seems very disruptive. It might take away my job. So for now, it seems that AI is not really the disruptive. It's something that will work hand in hand with the existing subsurface teams in the companies. Another is data integration. And in data integration, of course, global integration is probably far-fetched dream. But if we look at the scale of integration, maybe Eric, question to you. Uh, can we, scale this at the asset level? We can move it, to, I don't know, to a basin level. Is it possible? Or even country level? But as Sujoy mentioned, sharing the data among operators is probably not a possibility right now. So what is, I think we're running out of time, but
I was
what
going
is
to
the
say,
scale? Yeah. Yeah.
no, but I think it was mentioned, right? I think within the operators, right, the scale has reached the system level, right?
Yes,
The
it has.
argument
It
that
has.
taking on and using cloud and compute is the standard today, right? So from that standpoint, it's there for the taking, and the ability to apply the technology now, sharing across the borders and across the operators is probably a tough one.
Yeah.
But clearly within the platforms that have been established, and leveraging the compute and what's possible today, it's for certain.
Yeah, I think we can conclude with this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for a
you.
very insightful session, very insightful for myself as well.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
panelists.
Thanks.